There are very few people who have ever heard the howl of a wolf echoing across a northern lake, and fewer still have actually seen a wolf. To Bill Mason, a filmmaker with a love for anything that's wild and free, the wolf is a symbol of wilderness. To capture the wolf on film is to capture the spirit of the wild for all to share. His 3-year search for the wolf began one cold winter day in a remote corner of the Northwest Territories, high in the Canadian Arctic.
People often say to me, you must be crazy going out there into the wilderness, alone and unarmed at 40 below to live with a pack of wolves. But it's not the wolves you have to worry about, it's the cold. But I like it here. I'm not even sure why. And even if I did, I couldn't put it into words anyway. The timid little fox is captured on film forever, but he's free to go his way. But the wolf is what I'm really after. He's my excuse for being here. At 40 below, the simplest jobs become extremely difficult as you quickly lose the feeling in your fingers. You have to be careful because when you're alone, your life depends on your hands. Even in the stillness of winter, I never really feel alone out here. And when you're trying to capture the spirit of the wild, you need time and lots of caribou. Because where there are caribou, you'll usually find wolves. One of the problems of filming yourself is that there's bound to be someone who'll be wondering, well, if he's alone, then who's taking the pictures of him? I use a radio-controlled second camera, which I can operate from as far away as several miles. Then when I'm working close to the second camera, I use a switch on a 50-foot cable. Or I just lock the button and run into view. On my last trip in the third year, I took along a second cameraman, my good friend Blake James, to pick up shots I was unable to do alone. But all the events are exactly as depicted in a land where time ceases to exist. Nothing has changed here for thousands of years, and for a while, I'm a part of it.
When I am tired of the life I lead, wonder where it leads. When I am tired of the life I lead, I wonder what I need. I wonder what I need. What is free? What is free? I'm gonna leave my friends in the city. I'm gonna leave my family. I'm gonna leave my friends in the country. I'm gonna look for what is free. I'm gonna look for what is free temporarily. What is free? What is free? There's many a trail to the wilderness, and many a tale out there where the wolves move through with the caribou, where the breezes do not care, where the breezes do not care. I've looked across the Northland as far as I can see, and I have seen the creatures where they live in harmony, where they live in harmony.
I knew that somewhere those wolves were out there among the caribou, that they would return to feed on the kill I'd found. It might be a day, it might be a week, but they'll be back. The wolves came mostly at night to feed on the caribou kill, when it's difficult to film. And when they finally did show up in daylight, there was nothing left but bones and hair. With the kill consumed, I figured that I might not see them again, so I decided to take off after them. But with 80 pounds of survival gear and camera equipment, I knew it wouldn't be easy to keep up with them. The controversy of whether or not wolves would attack a man will rage on as long as there are wolves. Any one of these guys probably outweighed me by 20 pounds, and I knew I'd be a lot easier to catch than a caribou, and being unarmed, a lot easier to kill.
It was a great disappointment to Bill that he was unable to film the wolves pulling down a caribou, but he knew that his chances weren't too good anyway. They test the herd many times before finding a caribou that they can catch. But Bill never gave up, and as the months went by, he saw the wolves about once a week. Most of his sightings were accomplished by setting up camp near a kill or by putting out bait. A biologist friend, Ernie Kite, always dropped in to say hello whenever his game survey trips brought him into the area. While Bill was chatting with the pilot, Ernie would head straight for the kill and remove the jawbone for analysis back at the lab. Research like this has confirmed that wolves tend to kill the very young or the older and diseased animals. A pretty good indication that the wolf serves a very useful purpose in maintaining the health of the caribou.
With the offer of a ride out and spring on the way, I decided to pack it in for this year.
The following winter, Bill headed for the rugged, mountainous country of central British Columbia with his friend Ken Sumanik, a conservation officer.
Ken had been bragging about all the game running loose all over the province. To hear him tell it, the country was knee-deep in wolves. I saw wolves all right, but they were all streaking for the cover of the trees. Aerial hunting has become a popular sport here, and a wolf that survives a chase isn't very likely to give anyone a second chance if he can help it. We flew deeper into the mountainous wilderness in the hope of finding a pack that had never been harassed by hunters. The valley floor rises steadily upward, and the walls close in on you until you can't turn around, and the only way out is to gain enough altitude to clear the pass between the peaks. Whenever I journey into wilderness in an aircraft, I feel like an intruder, like I don't really belong here. But I justified the intrusion by the job I had to do, and we finally did find what I was looking for. I was beginning to realize that the only wolves I'd be filming here in British Columbia would be either running flat out or dead from aerial hunters. The caribou of the Northwest Territories are in desperate need of protection. But you can't help wondering, protection from what? The wolf and the caribou have lived together for thousands of years, and the wolf is no better at killing than he ever was. While our ability to kill surpasses that of the most powerful predators. Because the caribou cannot survive the killing of both man and wolves, the bag limit was reduced to 1 caribou per person, and the decision was made to get rid of some of the wolves. And when it comes to controlling wolves, Fred Riddle was just the man for the job. Fred was a rugged old guy, 73 years old and still running a dog team. To speed up the job, he had been given permission to use poison. Fred said to me, "One got away, but he'll be back. I'll get him." poison is an indiscriminate killer, and the kind Fred was using kills all meat eaters, including the wolverine, a rare and legendary animal of the North. I was the first person that Fred had seen in 8 months, and he welcomed me into his humble home. And for a while I shared his extremely difficult way of life. Fred was complaining that he couldn't find anyone to take over his job when he became too old. He just couldn't seem to realize that we are living in a new age.
The wolf has been shot, trapped, poisoned, and pushed into oblivion throughout most of the world. These policies of destruction are slowly being changed, but for a photographer, the damage has been done. There are very few places where the wolf does not live in terror of man and his machines. And then Bill heard of a place where the wolves and animals of the forest have never been shot at or molested in any way. An aircraft overhead draws no more attention from a wolf than a hawk or a gull.
Here on Ile Royale, an isolated American park far out in Lake Superior, biologists have been observing wolves for over 20 years to learn what would happen to the wolf and his prey if there was no intervention by man. And after 20 years, the results are 600 moose and about 20 wolves, despite the fact that a pair of wolves has a breeding potential of 10,000 wolves in 10 years. Now, if that isn't birth control, then I don't know what is. The big belligerent adult moose saved his life by refusing to run, and again blew my chances to film a kill sequence.
The following day, Bill found what he was looking for. The wolves had made their kill and gone off to rest in the trees, leaving a lone wolf to feed on the leftovers. He knew that the rest of the pack would return to finish up the kill.
This was a rare opportunity to observe the social structure of the pack and pack behavior. It's this social hierarchy that limits the breeding capacity of the pack. A wolf of inferior rank tries to make off with a morsel of meat. The dominant wolf, with his tail raised, attacks. He stands over his victim with his fangs inches from the exposed throat. All the submissive wolf dares to do is press gingerly on the aggressor's chest with his forepaws. However, if there's plenty of food, he won't starve. He'll have a chance to feed later. Now watch the friendly little wolf moving towards the feeding pack. He is warned away, and he offers no resistance. His chance will come. But in time of scarcity, the subordinates would be the first to die, leaving the largest and healthiest mating wolves. As the wolves begin to move off one at a time, I made an amazing discovery. I hadn't noticed that the cow moose was standing in the edge of the trees. There, right above the wolf. Obviously, she had lost her calf to the wolves. There she is again, standing just above her calf. She was obviously aware of her loss, but she would soon forget and go her way.
Baffin Island, the treeless land of the pure white Arctic wolf.
We have a tendency to think of places like Baffin Island as barren, desolate, hostile, and lifeless, but they're not. It only appears that way to us. It's a harsh land, and life is difficult, but to many plants and animals, it's home. Even man has devised an ingenious way of surviving the cold. In the building of an igloo, the principle is really quite simple. Each block rests on the one next to it in a spiral. The bottom of the block must be concave so that it rests only on the corners. Otherwise, they roll in on you. An Eskimo can build one in less than an hour, but it takes me most of the night. Again, I set up camp near a wolf kill in the hope they'd return before the foxes ate it all up. I never could get quite the right shape, but it was home, and a lot more comfortable than a tent. I get a great sense of enjoyment out of making myself comfortable in the wilderness. I mean, that's half the fun. When I looked away for a moment to the gulls waiting patiently for their turn to feed, then panned back to where he had been, he was gone, like a ghost. And I wondered if he had really been there. Snow is such a perfect insulator that just a candle raises the temperature to about 15 above. It doesn't sound very comfortable, but it is when you know that outside it's 30 below. Between sightings of wolves, the foxes kept me entertained. They were energetic little guys and seemed to work in shifts, hauling the pieces of the kill away. It's unlikely that a wolf would bother to attack a fox, but he wasn't about to hang around long enough to find out. I was pretty sure that he was the same wolf that had come a week earlier. And he knew I was here, but he wanted that meat. As I watched this wary creature, I realized how ludicrous it was to think of him attacking me. The slightest move would have sent him hightailing it for the hills. My radio-controlled camera served a double purpose. Besides taking pictures of myself, I also used it for extreme close-ups of the wolves. The camera had to be placed in a strong box to protect it from the inquiring jaws of the wolves. The wolves are lured into range of the camera with sardines. If I used meat, they would snatch it and run. But with sardines, they love the smell and paw around endlessly in the snow in sheer ecstasy. A wolf gets his biggest kicks in life through his nose.
One of his main reasons for coming to Baffin Island was to take advantage of the knowledge and experience of Dr. Doug Pimlett, a biologist with the University of Toronto, who had spent 3 years here observing and studying wolves.
No film on wolves is complete without a new den sequence and the pups growing up. There, I wait. Somewhere out there, they located new den sites. The social behavior of the wolf within his pack is really the key to understanding the wolf. The dominant male approaches the feeding dominant female. By turning away as if to indicate that he wasn't really all that interested in her meat, he avoids a confrontation and a fight. The gray yearlings that don't yet have their pure white coats aren't quite as organized. But when a fight does break out, it's noisy but short, and they don't use their fangs to tear. They display an amazing reluctance to injure each other. An animal like the wolf that lives in family groups must possess an inhibition against using his fangs to kill or wound other members of his pack. Otherwise, they'd demolish each other. The wolves of the wild had taught me much about the way they live and their relationship with other animals and the land. But as I watched this beautiful family run and play and saw their capacity for expressing their joy of living, I realized there is only so much you can learn through a long telephoto lens. I wanted to look into their eyes and discover for myself the range of emotions and expression that I knew they must be capable of.
In the woods beside his home in the Gatineau Hills of Quebec, Bill and his family decided to raise their own wolves, and they began what was to be one of their most unforgettable experiences.
I soon discovered that each wolf was an individual with its own personality. Sparky was a timid little wolf, but very friendly. Big Charlie here was the pack leader. He was a magnificent wolf, weighing over 100 pounds. His parents came from the James Bay area. His greatest joy in life was to have his chest and stomach rubbed. Now, the rest of the wolves knew nothing of these pleasures. They were completely wild. One of the first things that we found out about wolves in captivity was that the wolves that were not tame were terrified of us. They always kept a certain distance between themselves and all humans. Now, this is known as the flight distance. This female is Charlie's mate, and her flight distance is about 20 feet. And when I tried to approach her, she would simply move away. Now, as long as I didn't try to corner her, she was harmless. The fact that wild wolves are terrified of being approached by humans was one of the most difficult things for us to accept. We were not able to tame a single adult wolf. Sparky and Charlie were tamed from birth. Some of the filming was done in the enclosure, but most of it was done from outside the enclosure, from towers, so that the wolves' behavior would be as natural as possible.
While Bill was away for months at a time on his trips to the Arctic, his wife Joyce and the children were stuck with the job of caring for the wolves. The tame wolves were kept in the pens. Bill was afraid that because of Charlie's immense size and strength, he might accidentally injure Joyce or the children. Ironically, the wild wolves were allowed to run loose in the large enclosure, even while Joyce and the children were cleaning it up.
The wild wolves we knew were terrified of us, so that we could go right into the enclosure and clean up. There was no way they would come near us. They were just fearful. But I have to admit, when those fellows look at you from behind the trees, it's easy to see how those fairy tales started.
And where are you off to this fine day? Asked the big bad wolf. I'm going to grandmother's house to take her some cakes. Well, have a nice day, said the wolf. And he ran to grandmother's house and gobbled her all up. My, what big teeth you have. The better to eat you with, my dear.
Charlie loved people, and he just loved to have his back scratched, but we had to be careful of him, not because he was vicious, but because he liked to snatch things. If I'd known we were going to have all these wolves for 2 years, I certainly would have had second thoughts about it, but now that I look back, I see that we've learned an incredible amount. We've had a fascinating experience with these animals. It was really worthwhile having them.
Within this huge enclosure, the wolf pack lived their lives just as they would in the wild. They claimed this territory as their own, providing Bill with the opportunity to record one of the most intimate studies of wolves ever filmed.
Charlie and his mate ruled unchallenged, providing me with an incredible opportunity to film the pack hierarchy in action. The tail position is the most obvious sign of rank. Now, whenever Charlie and his mate were approached, their tails were raised. The other wolves kept their tails low or even between their legs when in the presence of the dominant pair. Poor old Sparky was right at the bottom of the heap, a born loser. Even her eyes didn't match. She had a pretty rough time of it, but even so accepted her lot in life and made the best of it. No live animal was put into the enclosure because it would have no chance to escape. Only dead ones provided by the forestry department were used. The dominant wolves would claim the kill to feed first. The stomach was ripped open and the contents rolled in with great satisfaction. It is suspected that the wolves are trying to disguise their scent to aid in hunting, but maybe they just like the smell. Poor old Sparky, she's pushing her luck to the limit. Her nose is inches from the meat, but she wouldn't dare take any without permission. And obviously he isn't about to give her any. Sparky's hunger drives her back to the kill. She feeds frantically, knowing that any member of the pack might drive her away again.
Bill was tempted to intervene, but he had to keep reminding himself the dominant wolves are not being greedy. In the wild, it's essential for the well-being of the whole pack that the dominant wolves keep in top condition to lead in the hunt.
Sparky harbors no ill feelings towards Charlie for driving her from the kill. In fact, she is overjoyed that he would condescend to play with her. Charlie uses a body check to drive another wolf from the kill. An attack with his fangs is not necessary. Hey there, Charlie. That's some of your meat, eh? Come on, another piece of your meat, eh? Come on, Charlie. Give me a little piece. Yeah, come on. Give me a little piece there. Can I have some? Want to give me some? Eh? Can I have some, Charlie? Nice, Charlie. Another member of the pack doesn't do much better, but he's a little more persistent than me. He pretends he isn't all that interested, but Charlie knows what he's really after. Now, this is a very rare event. The big black wolf stands up to Charlie, but Charlie wins. He always wins.
As the mating season began in early February, Bill and his family got the first tantalizing glimpse of something they hardly dared hope for. Charlie was becoming rather possessive of his mate.
Wolves seem to prefer the same mate year after year, but like humans, there are exceptions. And he keeps a wary eye on any of the other males that wander by. His mate is none too delicate about soliciting his attention. During the courtship, Charlie's at his best. His posture is nothing less than regal. Ears upright, neck arched, tail straight up. Now Sparky just happens to be coming by, and she's in heat too. But when Charlie shows an interest, she's apprehensive and feels so inferior that she sits on her tail. Mating between her and Charlie is impossible because of her inferiority complex. She's also very afraid of the female. The big black male is interested in Charlie's mate, but he knows Charlie will beat the can off him if he catches him. She offers him no encouragement. Her tail is straight down. The black wolf knows he's on dangerous ground, and he offers no resistance to Charlie's attack. And Charlie does not injure him because he doesn't fight back. Serious fights seldom occur within a pack if the hierarchy is well established. Each wolf knows his place and expects to be punished if he steps out of line. The courtship is a very intricate and beautiful ritual of nature, assuring the survival of the species. Mating between subordinate wolves is unlikely, but they all share in the excitement of the occasion. They will become aunts and uncles of the newborn pups and will take an active part in their upbringing. The pair are coupled for about 20 minutes. We desperately hoped that the female would give birth in the spring. But with a big mover like Charlie, there was little to fear. This ceremony was repeated many times over a period of 2 weeks. As the time of birth drew near, there was no sign of her digging a den. I spent several days digging one that I was sure would be to her liking, but in her own good time, she selected a spot, within hours completed her own den.
Charlie was never far away. He seemed to sense the coming birth. And now Bill and his family were sharing this anticipation. Bill mounted a 24-hour watch and stayed close to the den and his camera.
The same jaws that can crush the leg bones of a moose delicately puncture the sac and aid in bringing forth new life. The umbilical cord is carefully bitten off and devoured. Soon after birth, the pups and den are spotlessly clean. The only sign that a birth has taken place are the 6 wriggling forms. Within an hour of the birth, the pups are nursing. She's exhausted but content. Charlie shows a great interest in the happy event and will help in the raising of the pups. Food is brought to the den or cached nearby for the female. For the first few days, she leaves the den only long enough for a drink of water or to dig up a cache of food. And I was surprised to see that she used her nose rather than her paws to move the earth around and cover up any soiled spots. At about 10 days, their eyes begin to open. As their mother and litter mates come into focus for the first time, the pups begin to form social bonds that will last for the rest of their lives. After about 8 weeks, it becomes increasingly difficult for them to form new bonds outside their immediate pack. For this reason, we swiped a couple of pups for Becky and Paul to raise for a while, so the pups would include them within their family circle. In other words, they would grow up to be tame.
Getting hungry.
Okay, Loopy, now it's your turn.
Ow, he's scratching me.
Come on.
Ow!
Hold it up like this, so the air doesn't get into it.
No way.
We'll try again. Paul.
Ow.
Come on now. Get the ball in his mouth. We're getting it all over him. This poor little guy. Look, it's all over his face.
Why? He's tickling.
You've got to hold on to the bottle. Now, he's not going to hurt you. Come on now, hold the bottle properly. I'll wipe his face off and we'll try. Poor little guy. He's trying so hard. Come on, this is easy. Paul, he's just a puppy. Oh, I guess little girls make better mothers. Oh, he's so hungry.
At about 25 days old, the pups emerge for the first time into a bright new world. They begin to venture further and further from the den, but never for long. They become very distressed when separated from their mother or litter mates.
Hey, Becky, look at this. Oh, Fang. Ow, don't bite it. Paul, let's let them play.
In the den, the mother would not allow any serious fights. It would not be until much later that these pups would attempt to establish their order of rank. In the care of their mother, they seemed more secure and content than the tame pups. Wolves often move their pups to a new den during the first 8 weeks. This helps to avoid detection by their enemies that might prey on the pups. The father, and in fact all the members of the pack, take great delight in caring for the pups. pups instinctively bite at the corners of the mouth of the parents, causing them to regurgitate food for them. The pack might make a kill many miles away, and the easiest way to carry the food is in their stomachs. The pups also continued to nurse for several months. The two tame pups demanded the constant attention of the children, who of course were regarded as their parents.
Oh, Fan! How pretty you look. Come back, Fang!
Raising a litter of pups is a very demanding job as the pups get older. The parents often like to get away for a while. It's quite common for one of the wolves to babysit while the parents are away. And Sparky is delighted to babysit and displays unlimited patience in playing with them.
Bill had been waiting for just such an opportunity to take another pup. Because Sparky was friendly, he was sure she wouldn't attack. He wanted to compare the behavior of these pups with the ones that had been raised by the children.
Come on there. It's okay. Steady, boy. It won't hurt you. Hurt you. Steady. Easy, boy. It's all right. I won't hurt you. There's your Come on. It's okay. I won't hurt you. Steady, boy. Steady. Okay.
The pup's behavior was purely defensive. He could easily have rushed Bill and bitten him, but he only wanted to be left alone. As soon as he was grabbed, he immediately gave up. All the fight went out of him. There was now no danger of the pup turning and biting Bill.
I returned one of the tame pups in the hope that the mother would accept him back into the litter. Now that he had become friendly with the children, he would probably remain tame for the rest of his life. If the female had caught me in her den, she might have attacked, but in the wild, they wouldn't. Wolves are so terrified of humans that they will not even attack to defend their pups. However, my female was less afraid of me than a wild wolf would be, so I didn't want to push my luck. The pup probably had human scent on him, and the rest of the pups didn't want any part of him. The female sensed I had been in the den and was very upset. However, she accepted the pup back. So the pup was none the worse off, except minus a few fleas.
With the coming of summer, the pups were growing into handsome, healthy members of the pack. As in the wild, they were well looked after and were part of a beautiful family life that Bill and his family were able to share.
male wolf's sense of chivalry towards a female is very highly developed. Charlie could easily have overpowered her, but does not. I knew that no matter who won, all would get their share. It would not be until the pups were almost 8 months old that the parents would again begin to feed first. The easy life of the pups will soon be over. They will have to stand off and wait to feed on the leftovers. In the wild, only the strongest would survive. It might sound pretty rough, but it's all a part of nature's birth control system. I felt sorry that my wolves knew nothing of life in the wild. They didn't know what it was to be free, and I decided to return them to the land from which their parents had come.
Okay, Dave, give it a try now. Remember, don't pull it, though, until he gets that hind leg in, because he's smart. You know, you only get one chance.
Don't worry.
One chance, and that's it.
Oh, no. It's not going to work.
Hey, he's trying to get out.
Paul, stay away from the fence. Stay away from the fence.
He's got a
Look at that, he's
hold
chewing
on
out.
that.
He's chewing out. He's chewing the fence.
Listen, let's get those steel bars in, and we'll hold him at least till we can get the tranquilizer gun on him.
That didn't do much good. He's digging under the fence.
Well, you give him a few
How
minutes.
many do you want? Do you want more?
Well, I think a couple more. The black one and the green one should do.
You all right?
Yeah, he'll be okay. About 5 minutes and he'll come around. Okay, let's put ease him in, but get
Watch his tail.
Okay. Some of my friends expressed the fear that in a wilderness situation my wolves might turn on me. But actually my only concern was for the wolves, especially Big Charlie. He'd be a sitting duck for an aerial hunter.
In the hope of avoiding aerial hunters, Bill decided to take them to the same remote area of the Northwest Territories where he had filmed during the previous 2 years. It was an area that he knew well. Now all he had to do was to find the caribou again.
Well, they gotta be around here somewhere. Ah, that's what you said before. Well, okay, then let's try Porter Lake. Hey, look at that. Now find me a nice little island with lots of trees in the middle of a lake. It looks pretty cold down there. Hey, I'll bet that's one of the wolves from last year. Yeah, could be.
About a month then?
Yeah, I think that'll do it. Give me about
Hey, come on, let's go.
Come on, boy. Come on. Come on there. Come on. What's the matter? Eh? Come on. Come on. Come on there, killer. Come on there. Killer. Get out there and ravage that countryside. Come on. Yeah, go get him. Go get him. Come on, Killer. Go get him. Go get him. Yeah, come on. Apart from the fact that they were dirty and covered with blood from the meat I had been feeding them, they survived the 3,000-mile trip without injury. The thought had occurred to me that despite Charlie's immense size and strength, he might have difficulty making his first kill. I wanted to hang around long enough to make sure he could survive out here. Charlie didn't waste much time in staking out his territory, and there wasn't much doubt about who was taking over this island. For the first time in their lives, there was no fence between them and the wilderness. I was very happy for them that they would now know what it is to be free.
Gonna leave my friends in the country. I'm gonna leave my family. I'm gonna leave my friends in the country. I'm gonna look for what is free. I'm gonna look for what is free. I have looked across the Northland as far as I can see, and I have seen the creatures where they live in harmony. What is free? 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 What is free?
For the first couple of weeks, the wolves kept showing up every morning looking for a handout. They were hungry and let him know it. But he couldn't feed them. If they were to survive, they would have to learn to kill their own caribou. However, Bill was afraid that the caribou migration had shifted because he hadn't seen any since he released the wolves. All he could do was wait and hope.
The caribou had returned at last. Now the problem was, where were the wolves?
Charlie! Here, Charlie! No good freeloading mutt.
their big moment had come at last. After 3 years, I was about to film wolves pulling down a caribou. Charlie's failure to lead his pack in the killing of a caribou was a great disappointment to me. And as the weeks went by, he never did get the hang of it. I began to realize that wolves are not born with the killer instinct, but have to be taught to kill by their parents. I just didn't have the heart to starve them any longer. My wolves were just as dependent on me as I was dependent on the world of man. We could enjoy our freedom out here for a while, but ultimately, I knew I would have to take them back home with me to the Gatineau Hills.
All of us are runners, caught in the river's race. Some of us are hunters, and some of us are chased. And sometimes we change place. When I am tired of the life I lead, wonder where it leads. When I am tired of the life I lead, I wonder what I need. I wonder what I need. I have looked across the Northland as far as I can see, and I have seen the creatures where they live in harmony, and I am learning what that means.
The cry of the wild. The song of freedom. A freedom that for Charlie and his pack will have to end when I take them home. But just knowing that out there, wolves still roam wild and free, that's the greatest thrill I know.